And I've seen, federal police all over the street. I've seen helicopters in the sky. So, so obviously we knew something serious was going on. We grew up in this area and, not once did we ever think, we're going to have terrorists living in our backyard. So now that obviously we can see it happening, of course it's scary, especially bringing up our own children, around here now. It's scary.
Scary, well, let's put it this way, the world's a very small place now, and thinking Australia is immune to something like this is just not an option. Complacency gets you into trouble.
The warning signs are there. It is as if we are once again having the future telegraphed to us. And now all we have to do is understand the ramifications, read the obvious signs, and prepare ourselves for what is in the future and in many ways is already here. The overnight foiling of a terror plot in Australia, focusing on an ISIS-connected group seeking to behead a random person in public, needs to send shockwaves around the world and especially to America. The killers are everywhere, and they are seeking to create as much carnage and terror as possible. Welcome to Midpoint. Former senior policy analyst in the Office of the Secretary of Defense, 30 years of service in the Department of Defense, Michael Maloof. And we welcome back to Midpoint, senior analyst and investigative journalist with the Investigative Project on Terrorism. He can be read in such diverse places as The Daily Caller and Red Alert Politics, John Rossomando. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Mike, I'm going to start with you. The people in Australia right now, they are shocked at what has happened here. Certainly the depth of it was absolutely astounding, the amount of people, as many police officers as it took. But in essence, should they really have been that surprised? Because certainly, like in so many other countries, the warning signs were there.
Well, the warning signs indeed were there, and Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister, has been sort of hinting that something was brewing by becoming more vocal about ISIS, about trying to shore up defenses, about increasing intelligence surveillance, and now committing Australian troops. The thing about ISIS is that what occurred in Sydney and what they uncovered is basically an ISIS warning that's going out to all of their lone wolves and operatives in various countries. As you pointed out, the United States, possibly Canada, but certainly uncovering this in Australia is something that is shocking. But it's not surprising because there are about, I think, something like 60 Australians who are members of ISIS. In fact, one of the top commanders of ISIS in one of the Syrian cities is actually Australian. So Australia, whether they want to believe it or not, is in the fight.
Here exactly is what you mentioned, Tony Abbott. Here's what he said, talking about specifically the terror networks operating in Australia. Here we go.
There are, I regret to say, networks of people here in this country who, despite living here, despite enjoying the Australian way of life, they would do us harm. And it's very important that our police and security organisations be one step ahead of them, and I think this morning they were.
John, let me get this to you now with regard to complacency, because certainly even here in America, the fact that we've been talking about ISIS or ISIL, whatever you want to call them, there are many people who say, come on, it's a world away. It's the other side of the globe right now. They're regional. There are 30,000 guys hanging out in the sand right now. We don't have to worry about it. Is it not fair to say that whether it's America or Australia, we are still in many ways complacent to what this group may be able to do to us every day?
Absolutely. We don't see people blowing themselves up in shopping malls, at least not yet. We don't see a lot of what's the carnage that's being visited. So it's easy for us to get complacent. But if you pay attention to the Islamic State social media, as I do, they're constantly issuing threats to attack America. You just heard the other day, New York City Police Commissioner raising warnings about chatter that there will be attack against Times Square. You have these people reaching out on social media threatening to kill American journalists in Washington. And it's easy for us to say. I mean, look at the Boston bombing. It took two guys who probably spent $50 to build those pressure cooker bombs. And, it's very easy for people like that to slip through, to be able to hit us where we're sensitive. I mean, you have, just recently you had a young lady in Colorado who was arrested because she was going off to be with her lover in Syria with ISIS. And you have threats constantly. Like I just saw one this morning saying, as you kill us in Yemen and Afghanistan, so we will kill you. So, we can't be complacent. In order to keep these people from hitting us, we need to be vigilant.
All right, so with regard to that vigilance then, though, is it fair to say, and I'm going to stay with you on this one, John, first of all, that what we are seeing here, now that we see what's happening in Australia, is a global sympathy for this group? It doesn't make a difference how you slice it. We're talking about 60 people now, 60 Australians who likely are already fighting in Iraq and Syria right now. There is a sympathy for this group. There are people out there who are just twisted enough, who want to be able to kill people for whatever reason. And for whatever reason, too, we can't seem to find them all the time. There are people right now who are going to say, we're lucky we found these folks. And imagine what else is sitting out there, correct?
Correct. We just had 2 American jihadis who had come through Minnesota who were killed fighting for ISIS in Syria just in the past month or so. So, and there's estimated, say, at least 100 or more people with American passports who can come back and slip in and engage in mayhem, and that we need to be aware of. And I think the American Muslim community is starting to be aware of it. That you can't deny that there are people out there who want to do us harm, and that you can't just pretend. I mean, you look at Jabhat al-Nusra, which is the Al-Qaeda franchise. There was a gentleman named Mufti al-Gish who was arrested and charged yesterday with plotting to attack Americans. So it's something that's pretty widespread.
Okay, let me get this now because I want to make sure I get this in. Mike, this is going to be to you. Here's the president talking about the fact that as far as the intelligence community is concerned at this point, no credible threats. Listen up.
Our intelligence community, as I said last week, has not yet detected specific plots from these terrorists against America, but its leaders have repeatedly threatened America and our allies, and right now, these terrorists pose a threat to the people of Iraq, the people of Syria, the broader Middle East, including our personnel, our embassies, our consulates, our facilities there. And if left unchecked, they could pose a growing threat to the United States.
Mike, regardless of what the president says, is it your fear that we are still missing things?
Yes, we are. Intelligence, at best, collects maybe about 10% of what's really going on in the outside world, in the real world. I think ISIS, in every situation, has said they were going to do something, and they carried it out, and they were successful. You got to keep in mind that ISIS, which was Al-Qaeda, has for years teamed up with drug cartels, MS-13, down in Mexico and throughout Latin America. Now they're beginning to come closer together, and of course ISIS is very, very rich right now, and they can wire money in anywhere, or even walk proxies through the borders, the southern borders that we have. And already there are drug cartels and MS-13 in 1,200 U.S. cities already. So they basically have in place proxies who are ready to move as long as the money is right.
Would you have any doubt whatsoever that as we sit here right now, there are sleeper cells, there are people working in America right now under the ISIS banner who are looking to kill people recklessly?
I have no doubt in my mind that that is the case. And these sleepers can stay down for 5-10 years and then resurrect themselves, or they can be or a fat check can come to them, money can be sent to them, and basically ISIS doesn't even hardly have to come into the United States. They can work through these proxies.
20 seconds to you then, John. Are you satisfied that we're doing enough, or are we missing it?
No, I'm not satisfied. I think that as long as we keep on trying to say that we're all fine, we thought that before 9/11, we thought that before the Boston bombing. I mean, just don't forget that the Tsarnaev brothers went right underneath the noses of the FBI, right underneath the noses of our intelligence agencies. So I'm sure that the Islamic State's agents are savvy enough to avoid communicating in ways or forums that our intelligence agencies would be able to notice.
Indeed. We're going to have to make that the last word. Michael Maloof, John Rossimondo, thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you.